Hello and welcome to Kicking Tires. My name is Jimmy,
And I'm Justin.
and today is February 23rd, and we got a few topics today to cover. Let's start off with Mazda, my favorite brand. I mean, I'm not biased at all, but it kind of is my favorite brand, actually, isn't it?
It's such a like a journalist brand to me.
Like,
Like it's so cliche to like Mazdas.
it's whatever. It's a good brand. They get what they deserve. All right. So the CX-50. I mean, we talked about this a few weeks back. It's coming May of this year, but the most important part is pricing has been announced. So for Canada, there's going to be four trims. Our base is the GSL, which L generally stands for leather. There's going to be the GT, GT Turbo, and then the Meridian edition.
Ooh.
The Meridian is the off-road one. So that's the one that you generally have seen in like all the press materials. So it's
Oh.
so fake. It's gonna have the hood decal. I was waiting for the ooh. Yeah,
Oh.
there you go. See, it has 18-inch wheels with all-terrain tires.
Eh.
Oh, come on.
The hood graphic. Oh.
Has rocker panel and headlight protection.
Eh.
Oh, come on. Uh, and also some outdoor specific accessories that you can get with it. So, you know, maybe some cool stuff, whatever. But the trims, the GSL and the GT comes with the tested, tried and true 2.5 Skyactiv G, 187 horsepower, 186 pound-feet of torque. And a turbo, guess what? It comes with a
Turbo.
turbo. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So smart. Um, and that's the 200 and I think it was like 50 some odd horsepower,
Yeah, it's fast.
256 and 320. Like it's a really good amount of power. It's the same power plant that they put in the CX-9, the big three row. When
Yeah.
they put that in the three, we're like, dang, that's fast.
It's still fast. No one, yeah, and it's like even in the big SUV, it's fast. Now this GT Turbo that starts at 45K here in
Yeah,
Canada, so it's not cheap. And my problem with this segment overall is just that the base engine is just not enough, like for my liking, because the cars have gotten heavier over the years, right? Like, take our Chili RAV4 2003 or 2004, which has a little bit more power. That car has like what 160 horsepower, but it weighs less than 3,000 pounds. So it feels fast. Like it doesn't feel slow at all. And that
not
was 20
anymore.
years ago. Um, yeah,
But
it's
not
gotten slower a little bit after we got our hands on it, but it's still like reasonably peppy. And you get into a new car and they just try to save fuel and stuff, and just like they don't have that same pep, and like you need to get up to the turbo to get there. um so that's kind of my gripe with the base model stuff these days, and
what I
everyone's doing it, right? Like,
what I will say though is the throttle mapping on Mazdas has always been really good. Like you don't have to feel like there's other brands out there. Like a Honda Civic I was driving recently. Like you
Subaru
floor it.
Forester.
Like it takes a while for it to be like, hey, are you sure you want to get going that fast? I'm here to save you fuel. Like it takes that moment before it actually accelerates. Mazdas generally don't do that. Like
Hmm.
once you depress the throttle, it's readily available. So I
So
think
you're saying you would get the base model?
I no hell no
Exactly.
no
So they have the choice, GT or GT Turbo. So it's not like you have to get the turbo to get the nicer stuff.
yeah,
So that is, 40. It's a $2,500 difference for a
absolutely
lot of
worth it.
power, right?
Absolutely worth it. Yeah. What's nice is this, this CX-50. Like there's no information about how big this vehicle is, compared to the CX-5. The what they have said so far is it is going to be on sale along with the CX-5, and this is a little bit more expensive.
Mhm.
People have kind of speculated that this is a little bit bigger, especially in the rear seats, which is needed. Let's be honest, because the CX-5's rear seats are very tight. So I'm curious, what will actually happen out of the CX-5 or CX-50, I should say.
Mm.
And I'm also curious about the new powertrains that's going to be coming because they did mention when they launched this car there are going to be multiple hybrid powertrains,
Ooh.
and the talks are it's going to have maybe a Toyota collaboration, so we might see the RAV4 powertrains in here.
Mm.
And I think if they can do a plug-in hybrid, so RAV4 Prime
Yeah.
in a CX-50, I think that, like, to me, that's going to be a winner because it's going to have everything I want. And,
That's if it's not 50K.
but it's still, I think it's going to be, I know for a fact it's going to be more than the RAV4 because
Mhm.
the CX-5 is already more than the RAV4. But it's going to be less than the Lexus,
But the
right?
Lexus is so nice.
The Lexus is really nice. Don't get me wrong. I think the Lexus is really nice, but this is
This is a different attitude, right?
yeah,
But
and it's
I
going to
think
give you that middle kind of ground, right?
yeah, but I don't know. It's getting up there in price, so we'll see. We don't have a price for the Meridian yet, do
No, we don't. But we can kind of speculate. It's 45,350 for the CX-50 GT Turbo. You put a decal on there. What is that? $1,000.
we?
This is you know from factory. So I'm thinking the panel, the protection that you get for the rockers and the headlight, and then the hood graphics, probably like a grand. The 18-inch alloys with the all terrains, probably like another 1,500. So like maybe 2,500 more.
Hmm. Well, here's my take: is the Passport, which we've kind of all
Mm,
recognized as a flop at this point. That's what it was targeting, right? It was just like, hey, let's put something in between the CRV and the big boy 3 row
yeah,
five and a CX-90 or CX-9, and this is going to be like a more outdoorsy model, but the price ends up shooting itself in the foot because the Passport starts at 46, and
mm,
I feel like I don't know if this is going to have that same obstacle because, like, man, when you factor in destination, all the taxes and stuff, like you're in the mid 50s with this. If you're getting a Meridian, you're probably in the mid 50s after tax. So it's up there.
it's definitely up there, but
I don't know
it's
if people are really willing to spend that kind of money on a Mazda SUV with no history in the market, with no heritage as far as like, well, and there's no real off-road tech here. Let's face, like
there
it.
there are some drive modes which they have tuned.
Yeah,
During the press release for the CX-50, it was actually quite impressive what they have done to the off-road mode, because like there was one video that he was climbing up over this hill and it kind of acted like a locking diff, not really, obviously using brake vectoring, right? But like
yeah,
it looked pretty good. Like obviously we'll have to wait, try and see, but
yeah.
I'm
Because I mean,
curious.
look at the Forester Wilderness, which admittedly underpowered, interior is nowhere near as nice as this, but that's 39K. Like it's a way more approachable level if you're actually and if you're actually like looking to like do outdoorsy things, and it's not too pretty that you're willing to like beat on it a little bit. And Subaru has that heritage with just having really good all-wheel drive systems that
Yeah.
do work, and I think their reliability is generally better, minus STIs and whatnot. But Outback Wilderness is 42, so and
Oh
that's
really?
42 with the big engine, right? Like
Hmm.
that to me is gonna be the obstacle for a 650. It doesn't. I don't think people looking for this type of vehicle really care that, oh, the dash plastics are nicer, the Bose sound system is better. For sure, it's better,
Yeah.
but that's not how people buy these cars.
Yeah,
And
because they generally outfit it with something else, anyways.
yeah,
Stuff
exactly.
that's more
Like
important to them.
whatever crappy, and that's why Subaru put like the crappiest like Yokohama all terrains on their car. If you're
They-
serious about it, you probably will change it anyways.
yeah,
But the Outback Wilderness has a powerful engine and heritage, resale value, whatever it might be.
yeah, that's very
Uh
true. I didn't know that was 42. That's definitely
yeah,
it's the same territory, absolutely. Because this is going to be more than that. It's going to be smaller than that,
smaller, yeah.
but
42.
I would believe the CX-50 would be faster from 0 to 60 because that's what's important.
I mean, the Outback has 260 horse. It's no slouch.
It's not, but because of the CVT, it zaps a lot of that power.
Probably, yeah.
I've driven an Outback with the
It's got different gearing,
it,
right?
but
Yeah,
yeah, it does have different gearing, but because of the tires are a little bit bigger,
yeah.
the it kind of offsets it. Like
I think
last time
they've got the suspension, they've got the
they
actual
do.
body protection. They're not. It's not just what headlight protection and good graphics. Like there is a lot more to this as far as like an actual outdoorsy adventure type vehicle.
Okay,
That
don't knock my hood graphic. Okay, that's important.
the
Wait.
Outback's got a hood graphic too.
the the most important part, you know what? The Trailhawk has the hood graphic too, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. The Jeep
Yeah,
Trailhawks, they do.
that's the definition of a good off-roader is a solid hood graphic.
Huh.
Which the CX-50s is very similar to the Outback, but it says CX-50 down the middle.
I think we gotta put a hood graphic on our RAV4.
We should. We
Yeah.
have the hood scoop.
Yeah.
No, the
Ooh.
hood scoop is the hood graphic. It's the
Mm,
it's the feature,
it's
the
already.
design feature of the
I'm okay with that.
integrated.
I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. Of course, the CX-50 is going to have all the luxuries that you may get. Actually, on all the GT and the GT Turbo, like it comes even with 20-inch wheels. Like totally not designed for off-road whatsoever. But I'm curious, what that's actually going to look like. There's wireless CarPlay that I saw. That I personally love wireless CarPlay. Of course, heated seats, all the usual things that Mazda luxury, not luxury, like near luxury vehicles kind of get you. But yeah, I'm really curious on this one. I can't wait. Speaking of can't wait, Nissan. They can't wait to
Yeah.
get more people interested in the brand. So the news here is Nissan plans to build, well, not plans, but they are going to invest $500 million into a plant in Mississippi to build two brand new all electric models for Nissan Infiniti. The way that it's structured and worded, essentially, what they're saying is they're going to build one platform, one for Nissan and one for Infiniti. That's basically what I'm taking from it.
Mm.
What is it exactly going to be? No idea. Because the Aria is already, kind of in the production line
Production
already.
ready. Yeah.
It's not going to be built at this time. This is not the Aria. So the Aria is already coming, and that's their uh, kind of mid-size electric SUV, which everyone needs. The other electric models, I would think, would be more SUVs because no one buys sedans and whatnot. But the photo that they've given, it shows literally nothing. Like
I
it's
think it's an SUV because it's at least an SUV coupe thing, like a Model Y type thing, because it has a very upright front bumper, which their sedans typically don't have. They're a lot more low slung.
mhm.
Uh, the Sentra, the Maxima, they're all very low slung. So I think this is going to be some kind of crossover thing.
It
Uh,
would make sense. I'm thinking maybe a little bit bigger of a
yeah.
crossover because the
Especially if they're
Aria,
targeting a North American audience, right? Like
right?
they're building a factory here because one is the tax incentives typically when you're building domestic, but two is you're building the car like BMW builds all their X5s, all the SUVs in North America,
Yeah,
and same with Mercedes, just because that's where the biggest demand lies, and it just cost effective to do it that way. So it has to be SUVs. It's not a
Mhm.
pickup truck because Nissan.
It just wouldn't make sense,
It wouldn't make sense. Yeah.
especially if it's a shared plant
Yeah.
between Nissan and Infinity. Infinity's not going to have a truck anytime soon.
Yeah. It's gonna be a mid-sized crossover of some sort. I'm excited for it. Like Nissan, we always crap on them just because like they haven't been doing the best uh financially speaking and leadership wise.
Oh,
But
please tell me about the leadership part. What happened there?
but it's it's interesting to say that at least they're ahead of the game on electric compared to even Honda,
Mm.
right? Like Honda, Subaru is just piggybacking off of Toyota. So that's Toyota obviously they're
One of
they're number one,
their leader, yeah,
yeah, as far as like all types of electrification, not just
pure
one
electric. Yeah,
pure electric. Um, but yeah, Nissan as they're kind of they're kind of Japan's baby, right? Like at the end
yeah,
of the day, it's a company that they take a lot of pride in, and I think they're doing some good work with electrification.
I think
Uh,
so.
yeah,
Because
and price point wise, they're not bad.
no, the pricing has always been good for them, and it definitely like even with the latest products, you can tell that they've been kind of shifting their finances over
Yeah,
to more their EVs.
I
Because
think
like,
primarily it was like the mid 2000s when they just went full in on CVT, and that's kind of what bit them in the ass. But I think we're we're set for like a pretty solid comeback for Nissan.
mhm.
Not so much with cars like the 400Z, but
Why
with
not?
with their electric
That
products.
that's such an amazing vehicle.
People
It's
are hyping it up. I mean, I'm
the
not.
people actually are like there's a lot of
People
people that's
like it.
really liking it. Yeah.
There are fans of it. It looks like kind of unique. So that's you
Have you
know.
seen the not the concept, but the one with a different bumper that was rolling around? I think it was at the Tokyo Auto Show.
No, not
There was a
really.
400Z at the Tokyo Auto Show. It has a different front bumper, and it looks drastically better.
Oh, it's got the retro split grill.
Yeah,
I see it
it looks
now.
so much better
Fair Lady
than
Z.
than the actual 400Z. Hopefully, someone will make that as a some sort of
All they did is just paint a line in between and just splits up that grill so it's not like that Domo Kun grill everyone roasted for having. Yeah, no, it's way better just having that little strip of paint.
yeah, it looks good.
Um, yeah, and then you definitely see the retro feel. Like it's interior wise, that car is a lot better too. I don't know. I think overall, I don't I don't mind that car. I just don't think it's a super competitor, but they're pricing it not like a super competitor
No,
at the end of the day. So
the pricing of them like base model has always been really good. Because the 370Z, the base one, you can get for I think it was like under 40. It was ridiculously cheap for the amount of power you're getting and everything that you're getting with it. But then if you step into like a Nismo, it's like 60. And it's like, why?
yeah, no, the base model like before was like 32, but it was really base.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember it didn't have a backup camera like with the head unit. It was built into the rearview mirror
hmm.
because they had to have it, but
It didn't
they
even
didn't.
have Bluetooth streaming. I think it had Bluetooth calling, but no streaming.
Mm,
And this was like not like that made sense in like '06. Like my third gen TL had that like where you could talk on the phone but you couldn't
barely.
stream. But if you have to pair it, it had a perfectly functioning touchscreen. But no, if you need to pair it, you got to use voice commands. Pair
Anyone
device.
anyone that had a 2000-ish Acura knows the exact pain because
Hands-free link.
our my parents have a as an RDX and we every time they get a new phone it's like Jimmy, can you pair this? And I'm like, no, you're getting a
Yeah,
new
you need
car.
a legit like Apple genius like yourself to pair that. Like it's not something that people your parents' generation are going to understand how to use. Like you need a dealership to help you do that.
Yeah,
There's just no way. And you have to like state your name. Like
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
Justin's iPhone. like, no, back then we didn't have iPhones, but those were like, well, no, I had that car when I first got my. I used like a BlackBerry back then. That was my
Yeah,
first car ever,
it's
actually.
it was it was and still a pain because they still have that car.
The
Actually,
navigation was arguably better than the new stuff coming out from Honda.
well, currently the map's from 2010, so like it's getting people lost all the time.
It's
So
so
it's
bad.
great. But that car, the 2010 RDX, it's been around for a while. It almost has 300,000 Ks on it.
Nice.
Yeah,
Mine was
actually,
really low mileage.
we might need to
Yeah.
see you about that car soon. The all the bushings need to be replaced. Like it's clunking
Nice.
so bad.
Oh
Anyways,
no.
super off topic, but like Nissan has definitely had some cool cars coming out. Like the Aria looks amazing
Yeah.
outside and in. Like I think it's one of the ones that like it's I think that's better than the Toyota BZ4X.
Oh, definitely. It looks way better. It looks like a way more substantial product.
Yeah,
If you guys aren't familiar with it, it's not spelled how you would think. It's not spelled how Google thinks because I just typed it in and tried to correct me to ARYA. It's not ARYA. It's not ARIA. It's ARIYA. I guess it must be like Japanese, but
sure. Let's say it's that.
it's yeah. But it is a really nice I guess like sort of Murano sized, but with a like a more sloped roof.
Yeah,
It's
it
really
actually
simple
gives me
interior.
Murano vibes.
Yeah, it. I remember when the first gen Murano came out, and we're like,
Ooh,
"Damn, what is that? That is so cool!"
everyone loved it, especially when it came
Yeah,
out with that orange.
yeah, the orange. Like Nissan's got some. Like there's some fire coming out of that brand. I think.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot of trims though.
yes, there's too many trims. I feel like that is uh, it just makes it so hard for dealers to stock the right models, have like the right stuff in stock. I think don't give people so many choices. I think this is another win on Tesla's part is that you just make it so simple. Like you have the two-wheel drive, you have the long range, the two motors, and then you have the fast one. And like
Yeah,
it just makes a lot of sense. It's very confusing. Like we even were just looking at Polestar just before the show, and they have like the the Pulse
I don't
Plus,
remember
the
plus.
Plus, and then the Performance, but it's confusing because they don't do the same thing, and the pricing doesn't really
But you
make
can't get
sense.
the performance on the base. You can get on
But
the
they still
performance on the
show
trim,
it to
but they
you
still
on the website.
yeah,
Like it just doesn't. It just doesn't add up. But the Aria is one of those cars that like the EVs that you really. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a win for Nissan.
yeah.
Uh, like it's just so promising.
So really, there's kind of like there's six trims on the website. So there's a base which is the Engage. Then you can get what looks like the Evolve Plus, which is like uh it has a longer range. Oh, and it has a more powerful front motor as well. Oh, never mind. I was going to explain it, but now I'm confused too. What's the difference between Evolve Plus and Venture Plus? No, Venture Plus has a slightly longer range, but the Evolve Plus gives you a panoramic sunroof. Yeah, no, it's super confusing. But the one that you may probably want is the four-wheel drive version, which is the E Force. Stupid name. It's E dash the number four O R C
or
E. Oh gosh.
how else would you pronounce it? How is that confusing?
No, but like if you it's E Force, it's FORCE. That's what you would
Yeah.
but like it's a play on words. I get it, but like it's weird. Anyways, they have the Evolve, a Platinum, and a Premier for the four-wheel drive version. And of course, the Premier gives you everything that you need. The Evolve gets you still dual motor, but only 335 horsepower, whereas a Platinum gives you 389 and more range,
It's a bigger
426.
battery. Like the naming scheme doesn't necessarily make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This is kind of confusing. I think the I think Tesla's naming scheme, you got your base, dual range, performance, or dual motor, not dual range, dual motor. It just makes more sense. It's easier for people to kind of follow.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think Aria is going to be, one of those cars that's going to be a winner because it's different enough, it's new enough, and it's stylish enough to
Yeah,
to set it apart from its competition
yeah.
because
Which
you
it
have to
doesn't really
stand out.
have that much competition. I mean,
ID4.
like okay, the thing with EVs is I was just talking to my friend today. He's an associate over at Lucid, and we're just talking about like the people that shop for EVs is it's not like conventional vehicles. Like people that hop into a Model 3, they may have come out of a $3,000 like Ford Focus. Like it just what people go into an EV. Like he said, he had one customer driving a Nero and then is upgrading to the Lucid. Like you're upgrading from one car going into something that costs three times more. It's unheard of, but yeah, it's just the
I
EV
think
world is a different animal.
I think a lot of people are like, oh, the savings I can get with an electric car. They're taking that
Yeah,
into account.
the excitement behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, definitely, some interesting stuff to come up from Nissan. I can't wait for, what the next things are gonna, that brand's gonna come up with because they need to catch up to Lexus. Because the Lexus, the BZ4X and the Lexus version that's coming out soon, and they all
mm.
look really good. But they're not doing it with this.
Yeah. Just
You're
came out of Nissan Europe. Uh,
yeah.
it's a news story of the week, uh, which basically the Leaf, the current generation Leaf, you've probably all seen it. It's been around since 2018, so there's a facelift rolling out. It does look more like the Aria that we just talked about in looks, and they also mentioned it looks more like the Qashqai and just the new design language for Nissan, which is not that different from the old one. So basically, just gets a new front bumper and all the new
No,
logos.
not a front bumper. Just the front grille is different. The bumper looks
Oh,
exactly the same.
okay. So they just wanted to put their new grill on.
It's just a new grille. So
Interior looks the same. New badges all around,
new grille, new
and
badges, and new wheels.
new wheels. Yeah, the wheels are pretty funky. The Leaf is not a terrible car, and we're talking about it before the show. We've both driven the Leaf. I think it's a decent one, but the pricing just didn't work out. I actually before I got the RAV4, I did look into it, and just the lease residual was so low on this car and the Chevy Bolt that it just wasn't in consideration.
Mm,
Um, the lease residual I want to say was 25% after 4 years or
wow,
something like that. Like it was low. Like it was like below 30, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
that's
And
insane.
so it just yeah, we'll probably cover this at some point, but if you're talking about a lease, the most important thing is always going to be residual. Uh, they always advertise percentages, and that's just to lure you in and screw you over with your monthly payment. Just compare what your out the door after tax price is. Don't just see, oh, they have a 0.9% lease rate and go for it. But the Leaf is not in that case because you see a 5.9% lease rate and a crappy residual. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
doesn't help it. I,
doesn't
I
add up. Yeah.
when I was driving the Leaf, like I was like, oh, this is pretty typical Nissan interior. Just pretty normal. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing kind of extraordinary about it. The range was decent. I remember because I had the Plus model, so it had a little bit further range. I think it was like 300 kilometers or something like that. Something where I didn't feel like I needed to charge it every day. Um, but I think the biggest kind of upset for me is in Japan, you can get a Leaf Nismo edition,
Mm,
and you know what?
it
I
looks really good.
here's the thing. I mean, performance cars they're completely different, right? Like You got really nice performance cars out there, but a lot of these electric cars, like even the performance versions, you don't really get much out of them.
You don't get any styling out of them, and that's because everyone just keeps designing turtle smooth looking cars, and it's just I want like a good looking EV, and yeah, the Leaf Nismo is substantially better looking than
It's such a good looking car.
yeah. All of those Nismo series, even the Versa Note,
I
which is
actually,
one of the ugliest cars out there, it looks good in the Nismo trim. The
I,
Juke, which I like the Juke either way, but
I,
the Juke, which is one of the most hated cars, looks good as a Nismo.
uh, when I was in Japan a few years back, I saw a Nismo Versa Note just driving by, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I did full head turn. I broke my neck looking at it. My wife was like, "You're looking at just a Nissan? Like I thought
Yeah,
it'd be something better." I'm like, "No, that's a Nismo Versa
no, it
Note.
looks so good. The
What's
bumper is so nice.
what's the difference? Nothing. Just the styling. That's all it is. That's the style."
The yeah, it's not fast. It's not anything. It just looks way better because, like, yeah, like the Versa Note is one of the ugliest shapes. Like, if you see a plain one, like 2014 base model hubcaps, it is one of the ugliest cars you could get. Like,
Yeah, but
they just designed that car to be practical, and that's it. And then they slap a bumper and like some side skirts on it, and it just transforms it. Like,
yeah,
what? It's
it's
just magic. It doesn't like it's easy to make like I don't know a 400Z look good,
yeah.
right? Like you don't. It doesn't need much, but man, you took one of the ugliest cars and you just made it really sick. So yeah,
Flat
Versa
bottom
Note.
steering wheel. Okay, on the
Look at the
inside.
seats. Look at the
The
seats.
seats are upgraded because you get the Recaros as well. You get the
Two
red
tone.
stripe on the steering wheel. Like this is such an amazing little car.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, and you know how it's amazing. It's because every like I don't want to say the ethnicity, but like every type of like you always see like the Civics, the Lancers, the Rav4s. They all try to mimic this look. Like all the people that like ruin it with the AliExpress, Amazon accessory catalog for their car, like they try to mimic this look, but no one can nail it quite like Nismo.
yeah, I I gotta say, Nismo when they did basically any of their cards, okay, it's not just a Versa Note, it's not just a Leaf. When they touch any Nissan, it just looks
The
good.
Patrol. Okay, we can't keep going on about Nissan,
Yeah,
but so
sponsored.
long story short, let's go back to the 2022 Leaf facelift, which is the most half-assed facelift I think we've seen all year and we'll see all year. They haven't changed anything mechanically. They haven't changed anything inside. They haven't even changed any of the body panels. But
Well, one part of
still,
the grill, so
yeah,
that's a body panel. Give,
it's an extension of a body panel.
give them that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah, that's the Leaf. Nah, nothing new about it, but do stay tuned. If they do drop the price, that would be nice because when the Aria rolls out and when the competition stiffens, the Leaf at the end of the day, it starts after rebates in the low 30s, which is still a good contender because even like a lot of base compact gas powered cars are
gonna
up
be
there
around
now,
there.
high
Yeah,
20s anyway. So Leaf, I didn't mind driving it. It was not miserable to drive. I still preferred
it's
the
pretty
Chevy.
forgettable.
It's pretty forgettable. It's got okay power. The trunk is pretty tiny.
No,
Uh,
the trunk is good size. The trunk
it's
was pretty good
okay.
size. It's better than the Golf,
Oh,
which is
okay.
just kind of
Fair enough. Fair enough.
like it was because it was deep, and because the newer one doesn't have the old problem. Because the old
Mhm.
one, if you get it with the top trim, you get it with the
Guess
Bose
subwoofer.
subwoofer. Yeah, that was
I
just
think the new one has that too.
it does, but it's not like just in the bottom of the trunk.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it's a decent car that now that's a few years old. It's kind of a good value if they drop the price a bit.
Yeah, and by now they worked out all the kinks, so it should be
Yeah,
a decently reliable EV as
still
well.
no heat pump, I think.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think that was one of the, and the battery is it's I think the battery wasn't cooled.
it's older tech, and the charging tech is older too.
Yeah,
But if
I,
it's 30K, I will give it a pass.
yeah. I remember the battery tech wasn't as good. I remember it was like, was it cool? I can't remember. Was it the coolant on it was different?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Anyways, yeah. Let's move on from that. Something a little bit more exciting. Something a little bit, that will get Justin's like feelings all riled up.
Yeah, it's so Ford is just having a killer year. Like these we're only 8 weeks into the year, and there's just been so much amazing news from Ford that it's like, why has not everyone bought one yet? Like, well, because they don't make enough of them,
Yeah, you
but
can't buy one.
because you can't yet. But I don't know. It's going to be a really exciting few years coming up for Ford, because finally, after begging and begging and begging, we're getting the Ranger Raptor.
We're getting the good
Next
Ranger.
gen Ranger Raptor. Yeah, yeah, like the one that you see in the Philippines and Thailand, or people bombing like everywhere.
Yeah.
Uh, it's so cool, the Ranger Raptor.
So the CEO Jim confirmed on Twitter that the Ranger Raptor will be coming to US next year. Didn't say for Canada, but generally, if US gets it, we get it. So we
Yeah,
should be able to get the Ranger Raptor as well. So Ranger Raptor, what is it? It's the new Ranger, the one that we talked about a few weeks back. I can't remember how long now. But this is Raptorized. So you got the Fox suspension, you got the 35-inch beadlock wheels and tires, you got the updated interior, and you got a enormous looking front grille that has Ford written on it.
yeah. I would
The
say that is my least favorite part of
the
this.
Ford is so wide, it reminds me of like the BMW memes.
Yeah, it looked better on the previous Ranger Raptor, like I don't know, 2019 Ranger Raptor.
Mm,
I
yep.
thought that version of the Ford grill was better, but
This
I'll
I
I'll
think
forgive it. I'm
I
still
th-
okay with it.
it just extends a little bit too much into the headlights, where it's
Mhm.
like it's eating away the headlight to tell
Yeah,
you it's a Ford.
and you get good family DNA here, right? It looks like the Maverick. It looks like the F-150,
Yeah,
which that is a win in itself, because, like I always talk about, Hyundai, Kia, they have no
family
DNA.
resemblance. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's from one model to another, one model year to another. They don't even look alike. This Ranger, it's a pickup truck. There's not that much you can do with the styling, but yeah, it is Ford through and through. I'm excited for it because, yeah, three liter twin turbo V6,
hmm
which not a crazy amount of power, a really good amount of power actually for a midsize though.
yeah.
Like probably class leading.
392 horsepower, 430 pound-feet of torque. I don't think anyone beats that.
Yeah, unless
No,
Jeep does a V8. They
no,
don't
Jeep doesn't do the V8 in the Gladiator.
in the Gladiator yet. They will Hellcat everything, but it won't be useful, right? Like this is a really good amount of usable power, and it only makes sense because, like I was saying earlier, with the CX-50 and the base model engines just haven't pushed the boundaries that much. You know, 15 years ago we had mid-sized trucks making 250 horse. Where were they at 15 years later? Same, because just haven't been competitive enough compared to the full size segment, which has all moved well into the 400s. Like you have a lot of products up there. The Tundra Max hybrid system is like combined like what over 500 pounds-feet of torque. The F-150 is crazy numbers now, and it's just necessary because okay, the full sizes have grown up where they're way too big now compared to 15, 20 years ago. So the mid-size now has to step up in terms of capability, and yeah, if this will tow, you know, all I needed to tow was 6,000 pounds. It's not asking that much. And that was my problem with the Bronco. I couldn't buy a Bronco because it just can't do any work. But this Ranger Raptor can do the work, looks the part, can do the off road stuff. This is a winner for me that I think this may actually be my F 150 replacement. I still keep my deposit on a Sequoia just in case, but this feels like what I really need because ultimately I think a pickup truck still makes sense for my lifestyle. Just moving dirty stuff sometimes, like dirt, used oil and stuff, and it spills from time to time. Like there's just
Your dirty clothes back to your
you know.
parents' house.
I don't I don't do that, but um weird note with the Ranger Raptor, only 33-inch tires, which is like it's not that impressive for a mid-size because that's like the standard size for all full size already. But Tacoma's only running 32s, Colorado ZR2's only running 32s. But then you have the Gladiator, which
Can
kind of flips the
easily fit
script
like
on that,
37s.
right? And they're not using KO2s anymore. Like the Gladiators on Falcon AT3Ws. Why is the Ranger Raptor still using a 10-year-old tire? Because oh my god, I watched a review from Jeff Glucker from Hooniverse. He reviewed the F-150 Tremor, and he's like, these generals, oh, blah blah blah. Too bad they're not KO2s. I'm like, you basic ass B word. Like, I don't know. I feel like you only buy KO2s if you don't know any better. It's just like, it's the Michelin PSS of tires. It's just what you put on your car if you don't know it. If you
I
like don't do any
I
research.
remember back in like the 90s, everyone that had a Fox body Mustang needed BFGs
Mm.
on their Fox body Mustang.
Radial TA.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that was a huge thing because
Yeah.
my a family friend, he super into cars. He had a Mustang 5 liter, and he knew I was in a car. And he taught me back then. He was like, "See, I got the BFGs. That means I have grip. That means I can go faster than anyone." Back then, of course, I was young. I didn't know anything. I was like, "Oh yeah, BFGs." Then I started seeing all the BFG like BF Goodrich ads. I'm sure you've seen it before. It's like a purple wall on a with a purple car in front of it, or a green wall with a green car with like whatever it may be, but it has BFGs in white lettering on it.
Mm.
This brings me back to that.
The
That's
white
how
letter and their tread style is what wins people over. But man, it's 2023. I don't want KO2s on my truck anymore. If it was honestly when the second gen Raptor F-150 came out, KO2s perfectly reasonable then. But we've moved on. No one else is using KO2s on their truck. Why are we still on this?
are there any brand new cars that still run KO2s from factory?
I think you can get a Wrangler with KO2s actually.
Hmm.
Yeah, but not the Gladiator. The Gladiator is using Falcons. The G Wagon you can get with Falcons too, actually.
Hmm.
I didn't know that. Like I saw there's a Mercedes spec Falcon AT3W
No.
that's available. um, so we don't. What do we know about this Ranger Raptor?
Well, the whole press release is out. I mean, we know that it makes a buttload of horsepower. We know that it has Fox suspension. It's not the same one that's in the Bronco Raptor. It's a little bit smaller. I think 2.5 rather than 3 inch.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know what else. That's about it from what I can remember. Like, I mean, it's a good looking truck overall.
It's good looking. It's gonna be capable. It's got front and rear lockers.
It does have
Like
front
that
rear
is
locker.
that is impressive in itself. Uh, you know what? You know what I'm excited for though, above all else.
The fact that
Is
it comes in
Tacoma
orange.
TRD Pro values to plummet.
Oh, do you think it would though?
I will. Like it will. It has no choice because they're
But
just so incapable compared to
but
this.
the fanboys, the fanboys will still drive the TRD Pro prices up.
Ultimately, it's just a
Like
matter of
really,
how many there are. Like this is the thing is you always find that one person that will pay 150K for an S2000 CR, right? But that's one person. But you'll find 300,000 people that will pay 150K for a GT3, right? Like that's what ultimately drives the market up is you may see one guy's trying to ask 70K and he may sell it for 70K. But TRD Pro prices, if you bought that like a 2018 for above MSRP in 2022, you're in for a rude awakening because people are going to realize how incompetent your truck really is, how it's not impressive to be reliable when you're making significantly less power than the competition, how you only have a rear locker, no front locker, and yeah, it's just how crappy your interior feels, everything. Everything about that truck is crap for how much people are asking for them. Man, you know what I hate the most about the Tacomas though is
please tell me.
they cheaped out in the worst spot, which is the door pull.
Mm,
Because you can cheap out anywhere else. I don't want to reach out when I get into my truck, close the door, and just feel the grittiness of that cheap door handle plastic on the inside. Everything else I'm okay with. The rest of the interior I'm totally fine with. Like I know it's bottom of the barrel stuff in there, but don't cheap out on the door pull. Like it's just I'm as big of a Toyota fanboy as they come, but that truck does just it's just a joke. Like, and
really doesn't do it for
I
you.
really love the idea of all these people that artificially inflated the market and like bought a lot of cars and like, oh, it's gonna go up. These cars never depreciate. I I love to see people get burned for thinking that cars don't depreciate and like thinking that they're smarter than everyone else because of it. Like it's the smugness that comes with oh I sold this car for above MSRP. I bought this car 5 years ago and I can still sell it for what I bought it for 5 years ago. It all came in the last like 6 to 8 months. I think is because the used car prices have been crazy, but it's calmed down a lot.
Right.
And it's like those it's just like those Teslas that we talked about in the past where it's a good car, but like you can't mark it up 10K when it's out of warranty and the new one, the top of the line new one is cheaper. Like it just doesn't make sense. And
Yeah.
I think the more we see from like all credit due to Nissan. We talked about the Frontier a lot last week, the Pro 4X, but it's not that impressive because they just recycled old stuff and it's at a good price point, under 50K. It's a solid truck, but it's not enough to wow people. But as far as capability goes, power goes, style, and just overall cool factor, this Ranger Raptor is leagues ahead of the TRD Pro Tacoma.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know if Toyota is really going to step it up in the with the future Tacoma, but like there's no sign of that really happening.
Not really. No.
They did with the Sequoia and the Tundra
But
a
honest.
bit.
But okay. So the Tundra, everyone's been hyping the Tundra because it's like the best thing to come out of Toyota in a long time.
Yeah.
As someone that was sitting inside, driving it a little bit and looking and feeling it, I don't see why people would buy it. I
It's
don't
just
think
not that impressive. But the
no.
hybrid powertrain.
But the hybrid powertrain in a Ford is better.
Ooh,
It
true.
it gets you better fuel efficiency and also gets you I don't know if it gets you more power, but it definitely delivers better efficiency. because
Yeah.
that Tundra indicated was like averaging oh no, never mind. It was averaging like 25 because that one was gas full only
Oh, okay.
hybrid. Yeah, I thought it was like something with five. I think it was like 25. Uh, but no, like the Tundra, the new one, that was the TRD off road. So basically the base model and the interior, just like the quality and everything, comparing to like an XLT F-150,
Mhm.
it's the XLT. I still think the Ford is better.
Yeah. And I just hate the cop out of, oh, it's a reliable truck. It's a reliable car. That's why you get stuff like the Corolla, right? Like that just it's so underwhelming. And it's like I don't even get it, like as far as like a business model, because if I had a 2015 Corolla, I'm not getting a 2020 because it's still reliable, right?
No,
Like it's just that
7
doesn't.
years? No, you wouldn't upgrade a Corolla. My
Yeah.
family friend still has a 1994 Corolla that they're still driving. Like, it doesn't die. They're like, "Oh, we'll get a new one when it dies,"
When it
but it
dies, it
doesn't
won't
die.
die. Oh, my 90, I had a 99 or 2000 that died. It burned so much oil. Uh, I don't know what it was, but the AC died on it, and it burned oil. But yeah, that's after 20 years. So like,
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I think I we should cover this sometimes, and we'll just list out people that like the car stonks, the people that think they're so smart with their car hacks, car buying hacks that, hey, we bought this for this price and I trade in at this price. Like the people that think they made some really good plays and investments over the last year or so that are
Well,
in for a rude awakening. Because ultimately, okay, let's put it this way: is a lot of cars that people think are very rare, sought after, collectible. Um, it's it gets to a point where you're so above MSRP that I just got so much else to consider. Like there is a chance that you can sell it to one, two, maybe three people at that price, but a dealer is not going to bank on that. A dealer is going to take the car that they know they can sell to 100 people, 1,000 people at a certain price point, not chase that unicorn buyer, because yeah, it's just not how any business works.
yeah,
The
doesn't make
car
sense.
business is no business. It's just so many people were caught in this frenzy of of like, oh, people are buying, like paying so much for cars, and as production catches up and as the new products improve, there's nowhere to go but down for your overpriced whatever car you're hanging on to that you think is such a sound investment.
Yeah, we just gotta wait to see, when that is. Obviously, can't predict the future, but I know a lot of people that are like buying 400Zs, IS500s, Civic SIs for an investment opportunity.
Yeah, I could
I
tell
mean,
you it's no sound investment. I have a Type R that I'm trying to sell. That it's like at best I might be able to break even, but that's not really breaking even because I've three sets of wheels for it. I spent $2,000 getting it PPF'd and just like a bunch of other stuff. It just comes with car ownership, and if you ever look at it as an investment, you are doing it wrong. You are not enjoying the car for what it is. Um,
it's a car. It's for
it's
transportation.
to be, or it's something that you enjoy, right? Like it's something. It doesn't have to necessarily get you to A to B better than anything else. Otherwise, we'd all be driving Priuses. But
Ooh, perfect.
but if it's a fun car, it should be a fun car. You shouldn't buy a car and have to baby it and worry, oh, even if I bring it out to Cars and Coffee, it might get a door ding on it. And then it's no longer original paint because I got a rock chip on the bumper and I get touched up. And it's just like stupid stuff like that that just that's not why that car is worth anything. Like you, a lot of the cars that are worth a lot are the way they are because they're quote unquote drivers cars, and a lot of these people are turning them into not drivers cars, because who can enjoy a $300,000 R34 GTR, right? Like I'm willing to track a $300,000 992, right? But a GTR in midnight purple for $500,000,
Yeah,
that's not gonna see any road. Like it's just gonna neglect and just rot and die for the rest of its life.
yeah. It's definitely a lot harder to replace, to
Yeah,
fix, or anything like that compared to any modern Porsche.
anything new. Like I'll just get a GT3, and if I scratch up the bumper, if I put it into a wall into the track, I'll spend the 50K to fix it. But still, at the end of the day, it doesn't, like, at least that's a car that it can be driven the way God intended it to be. And that, I think, is the takeaway. Like, you don't encourage this kind of speculator market with cars. And I think, a lot of that has died down already. Like, remember the early like 997s, GT3s, like people were banking on those to go up. And then Porsche did the right thing, which is they didn't make the GT3 PDK only. They made it manual because then you can shut the hell up about this is the last of manuals.
Yeah,
Like,
they did that with the 911R.
yeah. Well, and they're still making GT3 manuals. Like, you can still,
Yeah,
because of the speculators, and it's done a good job because the new one is faster. It's just as desirable, if not more desirable. It looks the part, and it's just, I whoever banked on the 997, like, honestly, if you asked someone 10 years ago, 997 GT3 RS, that's a $500,000 car in a few years. Like, man, people were so hyped up about that stuff, and guess what? Porsche went and deflated you because that's just what they do.
well, the moral of that story is if you have a 911, like a C2 or maybe a C4 that you want to sell for cheap, let me know. Hit me up. I got about maybe like 10 grand I want to spend.
See, the C2s are great because they're like the driver's cars, and they've gone up a little bit, like a 911, even 996s have gone up,
Yeah.
but a little bit. They haven't gone up so much that people are like hoarding them and like, I'm not gonna drive them. I'm not
The
gonna put,
the
yeah,
only cheap 996 ICs are always convertibles. Like there's
yeah,
so
pre
many.
facelift 3.4 engine.
Yeah, there's so
Uh,
many convertibles on there. I'm like, I just
yeah,
don't want a convertible.
yeah, and well, and the beauty of it is eventually when a 996 3.4 C2 gets so inflated that it's 50, $60,000, who would in their right mind would go, hey, I want this problematic, slow, arguably ugly car and
Well,
not buy a new Cayman, right? Like,
yeah,
it just, if I like Porsches and I enjoy driving, ultimately I'll just go buy a new one.
yeah.
If you're gonna inflate the used car prices to that point, and that's why it's quote unquote inflated. It's not, inflation means it's not a real value for that car. That just because people are buying at that price doesn't mean it's worth that much.
Yeah, and
And
that Cayman's gonna be a whole lot more fun. It's gonna be more capable. It's gonna be faster.
yeah, easier to get parts for, just everything, because it's not 30 years old. Yeah, because
Yeah,
996 is getting up there. It's
it's old.
25. It's
It's
almost
old.
collector plate eligible here in BC.
Yeah, 996 is
Yeah,
old.
yeah. The early boxers were fun too. And
Oof.
those were
They're
cheap
still
for a
cheap.
bit. They're still
Well,
cheap,
like you
right?
can get one for like 7, 8 grand.
I don't think you can get one for 7 or 8 right now. But
Well, you don't
uh,
want one for 7, 8, but you can get one. There's one on Craigslist right now for 8.
yeah, especially the non S's were so slow. Like, it's all of the maintenance with none of the speed, and we've
the
offended the.
the Porsche. Yeah, you offended today the TRD club, the Porsche fan club.
Yeah,
Good job, Justin, as always.
yeah. Those were. key audiences that we wanted to target with
Yeah,
our.
yeah, and the S2000 CR club as well.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
could go
you.
on about that car.
But we won't because it is time. We noted time this time.
Hmm.
We're getting better. We're
Yeah,
getting better. But
we
I
have
think
2 minutes left in the show, and we'll talk about this week's review, which we briefly mentioned last week. I think
the
is
Merc-
drumroll.
it's the Mercedes S580. Um, super expensive luxury sedan that like for
They
the
run
top
out of
1%.
wheels to put on that car because I feel like those wheels are from like a
Winters.
2012. Okay, fair
Mercedes
enough.
always puts on winters, and then the winters always look absolutely disgusting.
It doesn't look disgusting. It just
It
looks
just
so
looks no,
generic.
it looks disgusting. Let's be honest. All right, it could look so much better.
It could.
This S580 costs 166,000 Canadian dollars, which means comparing to the base S580, you can have the base S580 and a Honda Civic for the same price as this, or if you want every single option on an S580, you can get a base S580, a Civic, and an Accord for the same price.
Hmm.
I was using Hondas as a
Measurement.
price measurement because I want people to really understand how much you can add on to an S580, and it's a Civic as well as an Accord. And I was like, that seems like a lot. Um, I mean,
Man,
but for people that's buying this, they don't care, right? You know, it is just what it is.
is this a long wheelbase or a short wheelbase?
S580 only comes in long wheelbase,
I
but it's
see both.
S500 comes in short
Ah,
wheelbase.
I see. I see.
Um, but it's not as long as the Maybach because the Maybach is like 12 inches longer than standard. This is only 6, I think.
Oh, so my Maybach is 6 inches longer than this.
Yeah, something
Man,
along the line of that.
I saw a TikTok of the old Maybach, the OG Maybach, and I just
Mm.
missed that
The
specialness
the
because it just
57
looks
and
like,
62.
yeah, it just looks so different. I don't like how it's just like a trim level now and it's like extended wheelbase.
Yeah,
Just doesn't feel special enough.
the I remember the 62 when that came out. It was such an elegant machine, and there's while it's based on the S class, it didn't share any panels.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the important thing because
but but the Maybach's 57 and 62s depreciated so much compared to Rolls Royce. They were equivalent, the same price, brand new. But you can't buy a Phantom for the same price as the 57 62s these days.
you can get this car in dark green.
Of course, you will like a dark green car that you forget about.
Yeah,
It's it's everything that you want in a car and so much more. It was
how's the
so
build
cool.
quality?
Honestly, it's a lot better than any other Mercedes I've ever sat in.
Nice.
Like the S class, they actually put in effort. Like I've complained about this before on the E class and C class. When you touch panels, it creaks, it rattles.
Yeah.
The S class didn't. Like I was pushing on
Well,
the
and
screen and pulling on it. It sounded good. It was
I know,
solid.
and I'm like, I thought this was like just like a journalist cliche, but then I got into an E400 yesterday, convertible, like a 2020.
Mm,
I just got in, put my arm on the armrest. I'm
yeah.
like, ah,
No, it's bad.
yeah. I'm like, my
It's
RAV4 doesn't do this.
yeah.
Yeah,
All Mercedes. It,
they
the
all screw.
worst one is gotta measure up the what's available in the truck. The worst part is on any of the E class is around the climate vents.
Mm,
That piece of wood, plastic, whatever, that creaks a lot.
yeah.
But
I don't. My only gripe with the S class is the styling. I think the 7 Series has now surpassed it. This just looks very generic to me. It doesn't have the presence
no,
that I want out of my S class, and
some
that's
people say
why I
the
would,
some people
yeah,
say the older one looks better, has more like road presence than
character.
this.
Yeah, this does feel like a little bit to A class enlarged.
Yeah.
Which good on the A class, not so good on the S.
No.
Yeah, you're getting good value if you're getting A because it does look like a baby S. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but it doesn't like when you get inside and you
hmm
start feeling things. It doesn't feel
okay.
like
Is there one thing that really wowed you about this car?
like for how big it is, how wide it is, how heavy it is. It was still relatively quick because the 580 still has that 4-liter twin turbo V8,
Hmm.
496 horse. Like it's pretty quick for everything that it is. But what's kind of crazy that wowed me is while it's quick, it was still quiet.
Hmm.
Like I engine was like super muted. There's no like AMG mode that has like burbles and pops or anything like that. It was a sophisticated fast.
Hmm. I don't know if I've ever floored it in the S class before.
You wouldn't.
Like it's not one of those cars that like asks you to
No, it's
floor it at all.
absolutely
But
not
yeah,
because
it's
even in normal mode, like you give it a little bit of gas, like it doesn't feel like it has almost 500 horsepower. You
hmm,
change it to Sport Plus, then it feels like you have 500 horsepower. It's
that's
very different how it maps.
sweet.
Yeah, but I mean, literally no one that's going to be listening to this is going to buy an S class.
You buy it because you're gonna buy it. There's no salesmanship or there's
No.
no. They could do anything and you would buy. And you know what? Same goes for the A8 we talked about last week. If you
Yeah.
were gonna buy an A8, you're still gonna buy an A8. It doesn't matter. That's why like I'm not that excited about these cars ever. But
Yeah.
I saw the new 7 Series. I did kind of like it. Like I
Um
would never buy one. I'll never be their target demographic.
so two things.
Uh,
I actually saw an A8 the other day. I was in North Van. I was driving along in my M230 or M240 and I looked over. I was like, "What's this bland thing?" A8. Newer one too. Not the 2022 newer one, but newer,
yeah.
I think. I mean, it looks like the same. Anyways, and then you said the BMW. I don't like the 7 Series unless you go Alpina.
Mm,
I like the styling of the Alpina a lot more. It's all it is bumpers. All it is
yeah.
bumpers. But the
Just
Alpina
like
bumper,
Nismo.
yeah, it's all you need.
They're Alpina. Who's Alpina? The Nismo of BMW. No, not really.
Al- Alpina is just like right now, just like everyone that works there is getting mad at you. Like you're really
Just
pissing
starting
everyone
World
off
War.
today.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
In any
Yeah.
case, that's really it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening. I'm still saying tuning. I shouldn't say that. But anyways, we'll catch you next week for some more automotive news. Thank you, everyone.